everyone! Welcome to my video. My name is Adrian. Today, in this video, I'm going to talk about noun clause and adjective clause. But before we start with noun clause and adjective clause, I would like to start with the definition of noun, adjective, and clause. Noun is a word that names a person, place, things, or idea. For example, Mr. Gutierrez as a person, Brazil as a place, sofa as a things, and love as idea. Adjective. Adjective is a word that explains more about a noun's size, shape, age, color, origin, purpose, or material. For example, big. That is a big table. Chocolate. I love chocolate cake. Friends. Look at my friend's clock. As you can see, the position of adjective is always in the front of noun. Now, clause. What is a clause? Clause is a group of words that includes a subject and a verb and forms a sentence or part of a sentence. For example, I will call you when I reach home. In this example, as you can see, there is two parts of clause. The first one is independent clause and the second one is dependent clause, or principal clause and subordinate clause. Independent clause is a clause that makes sense by itself. The sentence, it can stand by itself, and the dependent clause doesn't make sense to stand by itself. Alright, let's begin to talk about noun clause and adjective clause. We will start with the definition. Noun clause is a type of subordinate clause that functions as a noun within a sentence. It can act as a subject, object, or complement and performs the same grammatical function as a regular noun. Noun clauses begin with a relative pronoun such as who, whom, whose, which, what, whoever, whomever, whichever, that, and whatever. A noun clause can also begin with subordinating conjunction, such as how, where, whether, if, when, and why. There are 8 types of noun clauses. Number 1, subject. Number 2, direct object. Number 3, indirect objects. Number 4, object of a preposition. Number 5, subject complement. Number 6, object complement. Number 7, oppositive. And number 8, adjective complement. Let's we go to each type of noun clauses with the example. Number 1, noun clause as the subject of a sentence. The subject of the sentence is the person, place, thing, or idea doing the action of the verb. Example, that Johnny is not a very good friend is obvious to those who knows him. Where we will end up is everyone's guess. Number 2, noun clause as a direct object. A direct object receives the action of a transitive verb and answers the question what or who. Example, Jimmy doesn't understand why the package has not arrived. Mother said that she was working late. Number 3, the noun clause as an indirect object. Example, my teacher usually gives whoever completes the assignment by Thursday extra credit. The competition will award whoever acts the best performance a prize. The noun clause in this sentence are whoever completes the assignment by Thursday and whoever acts the best performance. Next, noun clause as an object of the preposition. A preposition is a place before the noun, or in this case, a noun clause, to show relationship between a nearby word. Example, she sold the car to whoever made the best offer. I am not interested in whatever you have to tell me. In this sentence, we can see whoever made the best over, and in whatever you have to tell me are the noun clauses. Number 5. Noun clause as a subject complement. A subject complement follows a linked verb and describes or identifies the subject. Example, swimming is what makes me relax. $50 is what I have in my purse. In these sentences, what makes me relax and what I have in my purse are the noun clauses. Noun clause as an object complement. An object complement describes and completes the direct object. An object complement noun clause will follow the direct object and modify it. For example, I never believed in history that his father could do a magic. He considered his biggest regret that he never said I love you. In these sentences, the noun clause are his father could do a magic and that he never said I love you. Next, noun clause as an appositive. An appositive renames the noun. Example, we who are wiser and older know the truth. The belief that we must conserve energy is a popular one. In these sentences, who are wiser and older and that we must conserve energy are the noun clauses. The last one is noun clause as an adjective complement. Example, I became worried when I heard the hurricane was coming our way. Sarah is unsure if Tommy loves her. The noun clauses and adjective complement in this sentence are when I heard the hurricane was coming our way and if Tommy loves her. Before we ending our session about noun clause, here I want to tell you how to identify a noun clause. Number 1, a noun clause is a dependent clause that is classes as the same part of speech as a noun. Remember, dependent clause is a clause that cannot make sense by itself. Number 2, remember that a clause must have a subject, noun, and a predicate verb. Number 3, a noun clause is triggered by a relative pronouns or a subordinating conjunction. All right. Next, let's moving on into adjective clause. There are few questions in this section that I would like to talk about. The first one, what is adjective clause? The second one, how to identify an adjective clause? The third one, what is type of adjective clause? And the fourth one, when to use commas to set off the adjective clause. Let's begin. What is an adjective clause? An adjective clause, also known as an adjectival or relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or a pronoun. Example, the yard where no trees grew were plainly visible. In this sentence, where no trees grew is adjective clause. The next question is how to identify an adjective clause. You can identify the adjective clause in a sentence by looking at subordinators or connective or conjunction that begin or trigger the clause. Adjective clauses always begin with a relative pronouns or relative adverb. As you can see on the table, here relative pronouns, which is that, which, who, whom, and whose, and relative adverbs such as where, when, and why. Please have a look to the example below. I highlighted adjective clauses with a yellow color. People who have remarkable skills can always find employment. Indonesia, which is known as the truly Asia, is full of beautiful islands. The author whose autobiography was released last month is coming to our school. Here's the restaurant where we can eat our special dinner. There are two types of adjective clause. Number 1, essential adjective clause. Number 2, non-essential adjective clause. Now we talk about the type of adjective clause. Number 1, the essential adjective clause. As the name suggests, an essential adjective clause is one that is required to make sense of the sentence. It is part of the sentence and description is what matters, and so it is necessary to make the sentence meaningful. Hence cannot be removed from the sentence. No specific punctuation mark are used to separate the clause from the rest of the sentence. For example, my neighbor does not like children who sit for hours fidgeting with their smartphones. The second one, the non-essential adjective clause. Unlike essential adjective clauses, a non-essential adjective clause provides additional information about the noun and it's not the main focus. This kind of clauses, even if removed, do not make a difference as the sentence still remains complete without it. A clause of this nature is enclosed within a pair of commas or brackets to separate it from the rest of the sentence. For example, my brother who lives in Australia will be coming to Indonesia next month. Now, moving on, when to use commas to set off the adjective clause? Comma are often used to set off adjective clauses, also known as relative clauses in sentences. An adjective clause is a depend clause that functions as an adjective, providing more information about a noun or pronouns in the main clause. Alright, now here are some guidelines for when to use commas to set off adjective clauses. Number one, non-defining adjective clauses. When the information provided by the adjective clause is not essential to the meaning of the sentence and the noun it modifies is already clearly identified. Commas are used to set off the clause. Example, my sister who lives in Paris is coming to visit us next week. The adjective clause who lives in Paris provides the additional information about my sister, but it is not necessary for identifying which sister is being referred to. Number two, defining adjective clause or essential adjective clause. When the information provided by the adjective clause is essential to understand the meaning of the sentence and the noun it modifies needs clarification, commas are typically not used. Example, the book that you lent me is very interesting. Here, the adjective clause that you lent me is essential or for identifying which book is being referred to. No commas are used. The last guideline is adjective clauses with restrictive relative pronouns. Relative pronouns like that, who, and which are often used to introduce defining restrictive adjective clauses. In these cases, commas are generally not used. For example, the car that I bought last week is already in the shop. The adjective clause that I bought last week is essential for identifying which car is being referred to. No commas are used. Before I finish the section about adjective clause, I would like to remind to everyone that the adjective clause must be placed next to the noun or pronoun it modifies. If placed incorrectly, you have to misplace modifier. The relative pronoun who is used to describe a person. Don't use relative adverb y to describe reasons. Use that instead. Don't use the relative pronouns which for essential clauses. Use that. Alright everyone, this is the ending of my video. Thank you for watching and I hope this video is useful for you. Bye bye!